Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning.
Tyler, how old are you?
20.
Do you go to school?
Yes, I do.
Where do you go to school?
University of Dayton.
And what are you studying?
Entrepreneurship business.
Are you playing any sports there?
I'm not.
And do you know why you're here today?
I do.
Why are you here today?
What happened today?
What night? Do you remember?
The 14th.
22? On a prior occasion, prior to your testimony today, have we met before?
We have.
About how many times would you say?
About 3 times.
And prior to that, did you, through your lawyer, approach the state of Connecticut in connection to this case? And can you please describe how that occurred?
My attorney approached the state of Connecticut to come to agreement with them that if I came in and gave a statement fully of the truth, to my knowledge of what happened that night, I would not be prosecuted.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Tyler, just do me a favor. Just stay closer to that microphone. Keep your voice up. Ladies and gentlemen, here, okay? Tyler, I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit 96 for identification purposes. Do you recognize State's 96?
I do.
And what is State's 96?
It's an agreement.
Is this the agreement concerning prosecution and consideration for your testimony concerning State versus Raul Valle?
It is.
Is this agreement executed between you and the state of Connecticut, signed by your lawyer and your parents on or about December 6th of 2022?
It was.
Does this agreement encompass the entire agreement that is your understanding between yourself and the state of Connecticut concerning this case?
It does.
Steve Roth, this is a full exhibit, Your Honor. No objection, Your Honor.
Court will accept into evidence States 96 full.
Now, with regards to that cooperation agreement, just so we're clear, what is your understanding of the agreement?
My understanding of the agreement is basically I'm going to give my story, what I remember from that night, fully truthfully, and I won't get prosecuted for anything.
And potentially, if you don't, if you deviate from what you've told anybody with regards to this case, what could happen? Is your understanding? And could your statements that you have given during the investigation and in addition to your testimony today be used against you if charges were brought against you and you were prosecuted?
Yeah.
Now, I want to direct your attention, withdrawn. Are you familiar with an individual by the name of Jack Snyder?
I am.
How are you familiar with Jack Snyder?
He was one of my friends and a classmate at St. Joe's.
And St. Joseph's High School?
Yes.
Where is that located?
Trumbull, Connecticut.
And are you familiar with an individual by the name of Raul Valle?
I am.
And how are you familiar with Raul Valle?
I was a classmate at St. Joe's, and I grew up playing football with him in Milford.
And does he have a nickname?
Lido.
And is he present in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And what is he wearing?
Black suit.
And can you please point him out for the record? May the witness record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant in this case, Your Honor?
The court will allow the record to reflect that the witness has identified Mr. Valle.
Thank you. Now, directing your attention to May 14th of 2022, how old were you back then?
17.
And were you in school?
I was.
What school were you in?
St. Joseph High School.
What year were you in St. Joe's?
My junior year.
And did you play any sports?
I played football.
And I want to direct your attention to Lazy Brook Road. Prior to going, did you go to Lazy Brook Road that night?
I did.
Prior to going to Lazy Brook Road that night, where were you?
My house.
And at some point in time, were you picked up?
I was.
Who picked you up?
Jack Schneider.
And when Jack picked you up, what time of day was it? Do you recall?
From 7:38.
And when you got into Jack's car, did you bring anything with you?
2 bottles of liqueur called Kinky.
And what is that? What is kinky?
Just like an alcohol.
And you brought that from, where did you bring that from, your house?
No, I got it from a liquor store.
And when you got into the car, had you already been drinking alcohol at that point in time?
I had a couple sips of the Kinky.
And when you got into the car, did you drink when you were in the car?
Yeah, a little bit.
And when you got in the car, did you go right over to Lazy Brook when Jack picked you up?
No.
Where did you go?
I went to Lido's house.
And when you went to Lito's house, who did you pick up?
Lito, his girlfriend at the time,
And who was his girlfriend at the time?
Mackenzie Trefcante.
And when you were in the car after you picked Lito and the defendant, or the defendant Mackenzie up, was everybody drinking in the car?
Somewhat, yeah.
And when you say somewhat, what do you mean by that?
Like we had a couple sips of the kinky, not much though.
You weren't like,
No one was
taking
chugging.
huge chugs, okay. And was Jack drinking at the time, do you recall?
Not that I recall.
So you, Mackenzie, and the defendant were drinking?
Yes.
And after Jack picked up the defendant and Mackenzie, where did you go from Lito's house?
Lazy Brook.
And when you got to Lazy Brook, what kind of party was that?
Your usual high school party.
Can you explain what the usual high school party is to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yeah, so it was all St. Joe's kids. You get together, beer pong, drinks, talking, socializing. Just your high school party.
So when you got to the party, how many kids would you say were there?
Say around 40 people.
And alcohol was being consumed?
Yes.
And when you got there, did you drink alcohol while you were there?
I did.
Did Jack drink alcohol while he was
did.
there? Did the defendant drink alcohol while he was there?
You did.
Mackenzie?
She did.
Did you see most of your friends drinking alcohol there?
Yes, I did.
And when you say beer pong, what is beer pong?
You take ping pongs, you set up these cups and throw them into the cups.
And if you get it in the cup, what happens?
Usually you fill them with water so you don't actually drink right out of the cup, but then you take a sip of your beer.
But it's a drinking game, right?
Yes.
At some point in the night, you said you had 2 bottles with you?
I did.
And did the bottles have a specific color?
Yeah, there's one that was pink and one that was blue.
And when you were at Lazy Brook, was there an occasion where, withdrawn, when you were at Lazy Brook, was it all people from St. Joseph's High School at that party?
That I knew of, yeah.
So you were familiar with most of the people there?
Yes, I was.
At some point in time, did a couple individuals show up that weren't from St. Joseph's High School?
Yes.
Can you please describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how that happened?
One time, 2 individuals came up, said they were invited to the party of the younger son of Maddie Leifer, who was having the party. And basically, she said they couldn't come in because there was way too many people already. And said, can you just tell them to leave? So we went over to them outside and told them to leave, which proceeded to like an altercation.
So when you say we, who are you talking about?
Me, Jack Schneider, Laurel Valle.
And do you recall what you were wearing that night?
I was wearing a Ole Miss like baseball jersey.
And do you recall what kind of, did you have shorts on, pants on? What did you have on?
I believe I had short. I don't.
You don't recall? That's okay. Do you recall what the defendant was wearing?
I was wearing an Ole Miss t-shirt.
What color?
Blue.
And at some point in time, you talked to the 2 individuals that were at the party.
Yeah.
What, if anything, did you observe? Withdrawn. What kind of things were you saying to them when they came in?
We told them they couldn't come in. They argued with us, saying they were invited by Austin. We said it doesn't matter. His sister doesn't want you here. Proceeded to more of an argument. We were kind of exchanging words, saying, "Get out of here! Fuck you guys!" And then eventually, Jack Schneider actually went over and took their beer, and it got a little more heated. He was like, "I'm not leaving until you give me my beer." I'm like, "No, you're not giving it back." And it led to a fight
So where did the fight take place?
on the driveway.
And do you recall, who was involved in the fight just before it started? Like who was there? Tell us the scene. Who's where?
So Jack Schneider was facing one of the Shellen kids, almost squaring up. The defendant, Lito, was almost like kind of behind him, to the side of him, and I was like behind Jack Schneider.
And do you recall did the fight at some point start?
Yes.
How do you recall the fight starting?
What I recalled was Jack Schneider threw a punch at the kid, and then they began to fight. The defendant came from the side and sucker punched him. and then he ended up almost like falling down into a corner, and I actually came in threw a couple punches myself. Where then when I was standing over him, it began to be broken up. The defendant was wearing a motorcycle helmet, and he, all fierce, like headbutted him down.
Did he headbutt him more than once?
I only saw it one time.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 53. You recognize State's 53?
Yes.
What is this a picture of?
Jack Schneider in the red, Lito in the blue with the helmet on, and he has the kinky bottle in his hand.
So the helmet that he has on in this picture, is that the same helmet that you saw him headbutt the Shelton kid with that night?
Yes.
That blue kinky bottle that he has in his hand, is that one of the bottles that you brought that night?
Yes.
Now, do you recall seeing the video of the fight?
Yes.
Now,
Could you just reference the exhibit number?
I'm sorry, yes, Your Honor. This was State's Exhibit 58 that was displayed for the jury. Now, you indicated a few moments ago that you recall Jack Snyder hitting the Shelton kid first.
Yeah.
In that video, does that refresh your recollection as to actually how the fight started?
I mean, in that video, I see the defendant hitting him first.
But that's not how you remember it?
No, it's not.
Now, at some point, how long would you say this fight lasted for?
In my head, probably 15, 16 seconds.
And after the fight ended, what happened next?
Got broken up. He kind of got up. His nose was bleeding a little bit. Words got exchanged, but then they evidently just left. They walked down the hill.
Now, that fight that happened at Lazy Brook, for all intents and purposes, would you characterize that fight as you, Jack, and the defendant on the one Shelton kid?
Yes.
And do you recall whether or not the Shelton kid had any weapons on him at the party that night?
You're not.
Now, after the fight ended, at some point in time, did the party continue a little bit?
It did.
For about how long would you say?
30, 45 minutes.
And then at some point in time, did the party end?
It did.
Why did the party end?
The mother came down, shut it off, basically told everyone to get out of the house.
And did you, in fact, leave Lazy Brook Road after that?
We did.
And how did you leave Lazy Brook Road?
So when we were told to leave, like everyone else, we all went down into the road. There's a lot of cars there for people that were there, so everyone was kind of in the cars hanging out. We actually looked to go to another party. There's nothing else going on. And we were thinking about driving somewhere to figure out what we were going to do until a group chat started.
Okay. Now, did the group chat that you just mentioned, did that start before or after you got in the car? If you can recall.
Let's say after.
Okay. Now, did you get in the car at some point?
I did.
Whose car did you get in?
Jack Schneider's.
Show you State's Exhibit 30. Is that Jack Snyder's car?
It is.
And when you got in Jack Snyder's car, where did you get in the car?
The passenger seat.
The front passenger seat? Did anybody else get in the car with you?
Yeah.
Who?
The defendant, Lito, Mackenzie, Will Singlewald, Dimitri, and Keenan Frazier.
And who was driving?
Jack was.
So there were 7 of you in the car?
Yes.
Do you recall where the defendant was sitting when he was initially in the car from Lazy Brook?
What I recall is he was sitting behind the driver's seat.
Okay. And do you recall who else was in the back seat?
Mackenzie, Will Keenan
And where was Dimitri seated?
in the trunk.
In the trunk area? Okay. Now, at some point in time when you're in the car, group chat starts. What kind of group chat is this? Did it have a name?
Not that I remembered what the name was, but it was kind of just a group chat of a bunch of Shelton kids and St. Joe's kids all intertwined.
And were you added to the group chat? Is that how you found out?
And she was added, yes.
Okay. And when you say a bunch of St. Joe's kids were in the group chat, who from St. Joe's was in the group chat?
Names that I can name would be Anthony Greco, Harley Jordan, Ryan DeMarco. Me, myself was added eventually. Jack Schneider was added. Leo was added.
The defendant was in the group chat? And when you left Lazy Brook, where were you guys headed at that point?
We were heading to Trumbull High School.
And why were you going to Trumbull High School?
Basically, it was like almost like a meeting point where we could figure out what we were going to do. Like if we were deciding to go to another party or, I don't know.
So you mentioned this group chat. At what point were you added to the group chat? Were you added to the group chat before or after you got to Trumbull High School?
Before, like on the way.
And were you able to view what was being said in the group chat?
Yes.
Now, without telling us what was said, what was the overall tone of the group chat when you were on the way to Trumbull High School?
Aggressive, violent, almost like people looking to pick fights.
And did you say anything in the group chat?
I did not.
At some point in time when you got to Trumbull High School, was there anything in the group chat said about meeting up at Trumbull High School?
Not that I knew of.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not the defendant said anything in the group chat about meeting up at Trumbull High School? At that point?
Not that I know of.
Now, was there any talk about during the group chat? Was there any talk in the group chat about fighting?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Are you about talk?
Yeah.
It's basically another group of individuals telling us to come meet them at a certain place, and us saying to come, like we're going to come, or come to us, or we'll fight.
Now, I just asked you a question before about whether or not the defendant said anything in the group chat regarding Trumbull High School and the fight. Do you recall if that happened? May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Looking at a document, help to refresh your recollection.
Would.
Does your memory refresh?
Yeah.
Now, with regards to the group chat, do you recall now whether or not the defendant said anything in the group chat regarding coming to Trumbull High School to meet up for this fight?
Yes.
And what did he say?
Said, come to Trumbull High, slide right now.
What does slide mean?
Usually it's used as a term to come here.
And did anybody show up at Trumbull High School?
No.
At some point in time, how long were you at Trumbull High School for?
Around 15 to 20 minutes.
And were you guys drinking any alcohol from Lazy Brook all the way until 15 to 20 minutes after you got to Trumbull High School? Was there any drinking going on?
I still had a bottle of Kinky, but I don't believe we were really drinking much.
When you got to Trumbull High School, in addition to the group chat, do you recall what other people were doing at any given moment?
Kind of just talking.
Did you meet up with anybody at Trumbull High School?
There was a car of girls there. I don't remember the girls' names, but they were there. We were talking to them. And then there was a BMW there of Trumbull High kids, Keenan.
And did you have a conversation with those kids?
Yeah.
And what kinds of things were you telling them at Trumbull High School?
So they came around when we were looking to leave, and we had a conversation with them saying, would you guys come with us to 43 Glen?
And what was the purpose of them going to 43 Laurel Glenn with you?
To fight.
And you had the address of 43 Laurel Glenn. How did you get that address?
All the Shelton kids in the group chat were dropping it in.
And at some point in time, did you leave Trumbull High School, excuse me?
Yeah.
And where were you headed when you left Trumbull High School?
43 Glen.
And what was the purpose of going there? And just prior to leaving Trumbull High School, did you have a conversation with the defendant about going over to 43 Laurel Glenn?
Yes.
And tell me about that conversation. What was it like? What was he saying?
He was just saying, yeah, let's go up once, kind of laughing about it. I was agreeing, yeah, let's go fight these people.
So, so you left Trumbull High School, and you drove over to 43 Laurel Glen. Were you intoxicated at this point? What were you like? You know, you were drinking alcohol. What were you like?
I would say I have like that warm feeling in my body. I wouldn't say I was too intoxicated, but I definitely had alcohol in my system.
Did you think you had beer muscles or anything like that?
A little bit.
Now, at some point, did you arrive at Laurel Glen?
We did.
And when you arrived at Laurel Glen, do you recall the State's Exhibit 1 behind you? Can you tell us, if you can recall, how you got to Laurel Glen? There's a pointer right in front of you if you want to use the pointer.
What I recall is,
It's right to the, yeah.
I recall basically, my memory is kind of like almost coming down here and like making a turn right here, stopping right in front of the house.
So when you say you stopped in front of the house, I show you State's Exhibit 49. Can you show us on State's 49 using your words, where did you call the car stopping?
Kind of in the middle of the street, in front of the mailbox area.
In front of the mailbox for 43 Laurel Glen, or
Yes.
across the street? So somewhere
43 Glen, yeah.
So if the record can reflect, my finger is pointed to the center of 43 Laurel Glen, somewhere in front of the driveway near the mailbox, but in the middle of the road.
All right, record will reflect that information. Thank you.
And when you got there, was there anybody outside?
There was a couple of kids hanging up in the back like yard, but no one like really outside yet.
At some point in time, did kids come outside?
Yes.
Why did anybody? Was the group chat still going on at this point?
Yeah, it was.
And what, if anything, did you say in the group chat about your presence at 43 Laurel Glen?
I didn't say anything, but I'm pretty sure someone from our car told him that we were there.
And when that happened, did people start coming out of the house?
Yes.
Do you recall where they came out of the house?
Almost looked like from the backyard.
And when they came from the backyard, how did they make their way towards the car?
Running?
And did they come down the front lawn? Did they come down the driveway? How did they come at the house? Both. And when they, how many people would you say came out of the house at that point?
35, 40 people.
And when they came out of the house, did you have a conversation with any of these people?
Like a semi one.
Tell me about that.
So the car was surrounded quickly by a ton of people. The kid on my right, I started saying like, "What happened?" One of our boys saying you jumped him, and I was like, I kind of lied to him, said, "No, we didn't. What do you mean?" And then the kid that actually got in the fight earlier that night came over to my side and started screaming at me. So I started screaming back, and this is when it kind of almost got a little chaotic, and the car started rocking a little bit. You could feel it getting kicked. Yeah.
Did the defendant say anything at this point in time?
Yeah, he did.
What did he say?
He was screaming out the window too, like, you guys.
Now, when the kicking and punching of the car happened, how long did that go on for, would you say?
I would say around 15 seconds.
And after 15 seconds, what happened?
Lito actually said drive to Jack. Jack started like almost like inching, and people started to get out of the way, and then he drove.
And where did he drive? Using State's Exhibit 1, can you show us where he drove?
Since we were like right here, he drove up this road up here.
And did you recall if Jack drove up and down the road at all?
What I recall is he drove up here, he turned around while everyone was in the car and drove back down, and then turned around quickly again and drove back up where people started to get out.
Now, When you were in the car, where were you seated at this point in time?
Passenger seat.
Front passenger seat? Do you recall if anything was thrown at the car when when Jack was driving up and down the street?
Not that I recall.
Do you recall if anything was thrown from the car when you guys were driving up and down the street?
Not that I recall.
Now, at some point in time, you indicate that you stopped in the area just prior to 36 Laurel Glenn, or Farmhouse Road, excuse me.
Yes.
And can you please describe, when you get to that area, to the best of your recollection, what do you remember happening when does the car stop at that point?
Yes.
And what
The
happens?
car stops. Kenzie's actually screaming, let me out, she's crying. We all get out. Jack stays in the car. We all else get out. I start looking at the car, the damages. There's dents. There's a shattered windshield right in front of me. The car is very beat up. The defendant gets out as well, and he's looking at it too.
I'm going to stop you there for a second. I want to show you a video first. But just with regards to getting out of the car, do you remember who initially got out of the car?
Me and Lito.
Did anybody else get out of the car? That's your recollection?
That's my reaction. No.
But this person getting out of the car, to the right there, in the front seat, who's that?
That's me.
That's you. I'm going to point, again, this person right here, do you know who that is outside the car?
I do not.
If you see a person, look on your mind, you see a person in between these two posts here?
Yes.
Do you know who that is?
I believe that's Kenzie.
That's Mackenzie? And Mackenzie, who's it, Mackenzie who?
Kenzie Trey.
How do you know her?
Same
School there?
school classroom.
So is this the point, are you describing in your testimony, this is the point where you remember getting out down the street near Farmhouse Lane?
Yes.
Now, when you get out down the street near Farmhouse Lane, do you recall if anybody from the other party comes down and talks to you guys or comes at you guys?
I do not recall.
Okay. It's about 11:41 at night.
Yeah.
State's 44. And this is a different angle of that same video. That's from a ring camera in front of the house. Do you recall this happening on May 14th, 2022?
No.
Well, you're clearly standing on the side of the road here, right?
Yes.
But you don't recall them coming down? So to the best of recollection, do you recall any physical altercation happening at around this time down near Farmhouse Lane in Laurel Glenn?
No.
Do you recall anybody with any weapons on them at this point in time?
No.
Okay. So at some point in time, actually, can you play the rest of it? Did you see somebody threw something at Jack's car? Do you recall that?
No.
So you said you got out of the car, you were looking at the car, you were looking at the damage of the car. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about that. What were you guys doing with what you recall about looking at the damage to Jack's car?
Yeah. So basically, what I recall of that is when I got out and I was looking at the car, I kind of saw it all, and especially with the cracked windshield, I already knew it was there because it was in front of me. And going around, seeing the bumpers kicked in, dents everywhere, I was pretty like how the fuck can they do this? Like this is like going to be very expensive for Jack himself, right? And then the defendant was with me while looking at it, and his demeanor was more, "Fuck these kids! Like, you really gonna let them do you like this?" And not to say, yes, I was upset as well, but I just like basically came to a conclusion with Jack. I asked him, "Yo, bring me back down there. Let me go talk."
Now, when you said that the defendant was saying, you know, you're going to let them do you like that, how was his demeanor? How was he acting?
Angry?
Was he more angry than anybody else?
I was sad.
And now you indicated that you wanted to go back down there.
Yes.
Why did you want to go back down to 43 Laurel Glenn?
My cousin and their family know the Riches themselves. They actually are over by them on that street. Not that street, but street over. So I knew the Riches. I knew Tyler Rich. I also know a lot of Shown kids too. So I thought I could talk to them. I didn't think I had a problem with them.
So when you were down at the corner of Laurel Glen and Farmhouse Road, did anybody else besides you, the defendant, and Jack get out of the car? Do you recall?
I think everyone else got out too.
So Will, Dimitri, Keenan, and Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Do you recall at that point in time, you said Mackenzie was upset?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not anybody wanted to get a ride out of there at that point?
Not that I knew.
Do you know whether, well, let me ask you this. At that point in time, could you have left the area and gone home?
You could have, yeah.
Could you have called the police at that point about the damage to Jack's car?
You could have.
But you didn't.
You did not.
At that point in time, if Jack didn't want to drive you home, could you have called somebody for a ride?
Yes.
When you were down there and the defendant was acting aggressively and indicating, Jack, you're going to let them do you like this, tell me, did anything else happen during that interaction with you, Jack, and the defendant?
Outside of the car, it was more exactly what you said. It was aggressive, anger from the defendant. Not to say, yes, I was upset as well, and so was Jack. When I mentioned to Jack, let me go down and talk to him. I know these kids better than any of you guys. We began to get back into the car.
And when you got back into the car, who was getting into the car?
Lito got into the front passenger seat before me, and I was going around the car to get into the back.
And when you were getting into the car, what, if anything, was said when you were getting into the car?
I heard the defendant say, "Jack, give me the knife."
And did you see a knife that night?
I did not.
Did you see Jack hand the defendant the knife?
I did not.
And when you were getting back into the car, did you have a knife on you?
I did not.
And do you know whether or not the defendant knows anybody at the Rich household?
I did not.
Do you know why the defendant was getting in the car at that point in time?
Not really.
And at some point, did you back down to 43 Laurel Glen?
Did, yeah.
Tell me about that. Where did you? What happened when you were driving down?
So we drove straight back down. Like right when we get in that car, and I explained that point where I heard the defendant ask for a knife. That was very synced to me getting in and us driving down. And when we drove down, I got out of the car and walked straight up.
Where did you get out of the car? If you could show me the States 49.
I got out right here. I got out right in front of the mailbox almost.
Okay, so if I'm pointing in States 49, Jack pulled the car up somewhere in this area in front of the mailbox,
Yeah, right around that area.
facing Adams,
Yes.
and you got out of the car, and you walked up where?
I walked up right a little past the grass, but then onto the pavement.
Onto where?
Pavement. Driveway.
States 5, maybe up this area here?
Yes, like,
When you got out of the car, did you notice anybody with you?
so when I got out of the car, I thought it was just going to be me, and then I noticed Vito was on my right-hand side of me.
And when you saw Lito on your right-hand side, what did you think to yourself at that point?
I just kind of thought, what is he doing? Like there's no one he knows here. It's not a smart idea for him to be coming up.
Why wouldn't it be a smart idea?
It's because no one knows him, right? Me being me and knowing people, I thought maybe I could talk to Tyler Rich and it wouldn't be a big thing. But seeing him coming up to the right side and having both of us being walking up just would not be something that would be smart.
And why wouldn't it be smart?
He was really angry before. I don't think he was looking to talk peacefully like I was to talk to Tyler Rich about the damages. He didn't know Tyler Rich, so what is he going to talk about?
And with regards to going back there and the defendant getting out, did you think that it was going to end well?
No.
Why?
Like I said, like he was upset. He was angry. He was showing it way more. He wasn't looking. I feel like he wasn't looking for anything peaceful.
Did you, at that point in time when you got out of the car, did you notice if the defendant had any weapons on him at that
I
point?
did not.
What was the lighting out like that night?
It was dark.
Could you see in front of you, though?
Yes.
It wasn't pitch black? Was there some ambient light coming from the house?
Yeah.
Jack's lights were on in his car? That
Yeah.
light kind of helped out. Was there anybody outside at that point in time when you started walking up initially?
Not really.
And when you were walking up the house, what, if anything, happened as you were walking up?
When I was walking up, no one was really around, and then someone said they're back. Like screamed it out almost, and I was greeted by a large individual straight into my face in the first 3 seconds. Who got really close up to me, started screaming, yelling at me, "What the fuck you doing back? What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Yo, I'm trying to talk to Tyler Rich." And then while that was going on, Tyler Rich came to the right side of me, and I was like, "Yo, Tyler!" And then he just screamed at me, "Get the f off my property before I f you up."
So you were walking up, Tyler Rich was somewhere to your right, and
Yes.
he was telling you to get off his property. And when that was happening, where was the defendant at this point? Do you remember?
It's like 8 feet to the right of me.
So from maybe here at me to maybe the wood banister there, or the jury
A
cell?
little bit farther, but yeah.
Further? Okay. And could you see what the defendant was doing at that point in time?
He had a group of kids almost like kind of surrounding him as well, and he was screaming back at them.
He was screaming at them? What kinds of things was he screaming?
I couldn't hear.
Did it look like he was acting peacefully?
No.
Did it look like he was trying to calm the situation?
No.
Did it look like he was acting aggressively?
Yeah.
And at some point in time, tell me what happens next.
So right when Tyler Rich came to my face and screamed that into me, I knew this is not going to go the way I thought it was going to go. More kids kept funneling out, got louder, more chaotic. They started screaming at me. I started screaming back. And I'm looking over at Lito because he had a lot of people around him. And I see him get punched. And I almost like took a step forward and I got hit from the back of my head and almost fell forwards into a group like of people. And before I knew it, I was on the ground. And
Now, are you familiar with Jimmy McGrath?
I am.
How are you familiar with Jimmy McGrath?
I grew up playing lacrosse against him.
And I'm going to show you State 57. You know who that is?
Yeah,
Who's that?
it's Jimmy.
Now, do you recall seeing Jimmy during this initial part? Was he in the...
No.
Now, you say that you got hit and you fell?
Yeah.
And when you fell, do you recall what was going on when you fell?
It was so chaotic that it was almost like I just felt stuff coming from all different sides of me, getting like kicked, punched. Kind of was just face down, so I don't really recall what was going on around me.
How long would you say the fight lasted for, do you recall?
I would say like 10, 15 seconds.
And when the fight started, do you recall seeing where the defendant went?
Say again?
Did you see, once the defendant got hit, did you see what happened to him?
No.
Now, You said you didn't see Jimmy during that initial part of the fight. Did you see him involved in the fight, in the initial part of the fight? Now, at some point in time when you're on the ground, you said 10 to 15 seconds. What happens next that you remember?
What I remember is being on the ground, kind of like getting kicked, getting punched, whatever. Then almost getting pushed, like, so my body would get, like, almost let go. And, like I glide into, like, the street. Yeah, when I get out of it.
So we're looking at State's Exhibit 4. Can you tell us in Stage 4 where you recall getting pushed out to the street?
I remember, like, being over by that first far red bush.
Okay.
Like, that's over there, I believe, where I was getting beat up, and then I come out, straight out in front of it.
Okay, so the record to reflect, Your Honor, we're looking at the red bush to the left, which appears to be next to the blue pickup truck, and then the witness has indicated that he was pushed out towards the street where the curb area is.
Court will allow the record to reflect that information. Thank you.
And when you you said you got pushed out into the street?
Well, it almost felt like they let go of me.
Okay.
So
And when you are out into the street, what, if anything, do you recall doing at that point in time?
I, like, stumble out into the street, and I turn around, and there's just a big wall of kids screaming, like, very chaotic.
Were the wall of kids that were screaming, were they coming after you at that point?
No.
Were you going after them at that point?
No.
Did you have a weapon on you at that point?
No.
Did you were screaming back at them?
I was, yeah.
They were screaming at you?
Yes.
Was the fight over at that point?
My knowledge, yes.
And how long would you say the fight was over? How long did that screaming go on?
Like 5 seconds.
And after that 5 seconds, what do you remember doing?
After that 5 seconds while I was screaming at them, almost like a screaming match, I looked to my left and I saw the car Jack Schneider was driving, almost driving away.
We're going to play a video for you. Do you recall watching the video in connection to this case?
Yes.
This is State's 6.
Yes, sir! Come on! Let's go again!
Now, you recall seeing that?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you State 62. Do you know who that is in State 62?
I do.
Who is that?
Defendant?
State 63. You know who this individual is on the ground with the shirt pulled up?
I do.
Who is that?
That's me.
Now, do you recall seeing Jimmy McGrath during this part of the fight?
I do not.
State 68. This person that's here with the jeans on, with the shirt kind of pulled up, going towards, looks like they're going towards the street. Do you know who that is?
I do.
Who is that?
That's me.
And this individual to your left, do you know who that is?
I do.
Who is that?
Defendant?
And lastly, State 69. Do you know who this individual is at the street?
That's me.
You recall seeing Jimmy McGrath at all during this time?
No.
You recall seeing him involved in any of the fights during this time?
I do not.
Now, you indicated that you look to your left and you see the car driving away.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I mean, I'm screaming at these kids, are screaming at me. Nothing's really occurring, but I don't know what's going to happen next. I turn to my left, and my ride, Jack Schneider, is driving away. I almost went to, like, that flight mode of, like, what? And I just, right away, just ran at the car, screaming, stop.
And did you get in the car?
Did.
Where did you get in the car?
The back seat.
The back seat on the passenger side or the driver's side? And was the defendant in the car?
Was.
Where was he seated?
Seated in the right passenger seat, front.
And when you got in the car, what, if anything, did you say to Jack or the defendant when you got in the car?
I was angry. I just started screaming at them.
What kind of thing? What were you saying?
you guys just let me get my ass beat. Like no one's gonna help me out. You're also about to just leave me, drive away.
At some point, and now when you're saying this, are you just seated in the car, or are you?
I'm like kind of head down, like in distraught. Like my head was booming, the adrenaline was rushing through my body. Like I wasn't.
At some point in time, tell us about where the car goes, if you can recall.
Yeah, so what I recall is, I mean, the car was going fast. We take this left turn, and we're going fast through, and the defendant goes stop, 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 and like Jack slams on the brakes. Where I almost like, because my head was down, I almost smashed into the front seat with my head, and I'm like still screaming. I'm not thinking anything of like stop, 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 and I'm still screaming. I like look up, and I see the defendant entering back into the car.
And did you know why the defendant got out of the car?
I did not.
And when the defendant got back into the car, what if anything, did you hear him say next?
He said, "Go, go, go."
And do you recall the path the car took after the defendant said, go, go, go?
Yeah, it was almost like we were on like a roundabout. So like it was like a right and a straight, and then another right where we went straight back up.
Do you recall if you went past, did you pass the house again? Do you recall?
Yeah, we did.
So if we can use states one, did you recall the path of travel to the best of your recollection?
My recollection, like I said, when I got in, sharp left, and this is where I believe he stopped. And then we came back out and moved back up here.
And when you flew back down the street, where did you go?
We were going back up the street, right around here. The defendant said, "Stop, stop, stop" again. And he got out the car. He just looked at me and Jack and said, "Love you guys. I'm going home with Mackenzie." And I got out and got back into the front passenger seat.
And when you got back in the front passenger seat, do you recall where you guys went next?
Me and Jack just drove straight. Going straight, we go straight. We go straight is where we eventually hit another dead end.
Let me show you Defense Exhibit A. This is a very large overhead shot of the entire area. It's Defense A. Are you talking about hitting the dead end all the way at the end of Laurel Glenn?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got to the end of Laurel Glenn, what did you guys do next?
We kind of like, where are we right now? We had no idea. So I grabbed my phone and I put in my address in Milford. We let that go. We finally got it up. Once we got it up, we began.
And on the way home, how long was the ride to your house in Milford from Shelton?
20 minutes.
And during that 20-minute ride, did you have a conversation with Jack about what had happened?
I did.
Now, without telling us what Jack said, what kind of things were you saying to him?
I was upset. I kind of was continuing old demeanor of like, why did you let me get my ass beat and just sit in the car? And then also, why were you going to drive off without me? And I felt like an anger towards him. Sort of adrenaline running through my body, and I was just like mad at him.
And during the ride home, did you also talk about what had just happened at the house?
Not in the beginning, but yes, mid-drive, it got brought up.
And tell us about that. Not what Jack said, but tell me what kinds of things were you saying?
So I actually called my cousin, told him about what happened to me, and this is the cousin that knows Tyler Rich. Told him Tyler Rich just jumped me with a bunch of kids. He said, "Hold up, like I'll call him." Sorry. And he called me back, and that's when I learned that someone's been stabbed, or multiple people have been stabbed.
And when you had learned that multiple people had been stabbed, did you understand the gravity of the situation at that point?
Not really. I didn't know the severity of it. He didn't know the severity of it. I didn't learn it. I knew that can't be good. That's crazy because I had no idea what the hell happened. I just got my ass beat. I didn't know someone was stabbing people. So I didn't know the severity of it. and it basically just led me to ask, because I did hear it, I asked Jack, yo, did you give Lito a knife?
And based on that conversation, not what Jack said, but what was your reply to what Jack said?
So Lito killed those kids, or stabbed those kids.
And at some point in time, did you get back to your house at Seaview?
Yeah.
In Milford? And did you have a conversation with anybody when you got back to the house?
Yeah, my cousin followed us,
Who's your cousin?
Owen.
And at that point in time, did you understand the severity of the situation?
This is where I learned more of the severity. I learned that there was a kid that might not make it.
And prior to learning the severity of the situation, did you and Jack, when you were talking, did you have, what was your conversation like with regards to, did you want payback?
Yes.
Once you learned the severity of the situation, tell us about what you did during those hours after you learned what had happened.
Once I learned what happened, Jack went home. Told him I loved him. Said just go home. He went home. I went upstairs with my cousin. I sat down. He kind of asked me more of what happened, dude. This is not no normal fight. I kind of just told him everything that I knew, and I didn't know what actually happened, the severity of it. We ate a little something, and he left. I went up to my room, and I'd say 30 minutes later, I called the defendant.
And did you have a conversation with the defendant?
Yeah, I basically confronted him and said, yo, did you stab those kids?
And what was his response?
Sorry.
And is that all he said?
Yeah.
Now, since that night, have you had any other communication with the defendant?
No, other than later that night, I did get a phone call from him, but it was just silence.
Now, at some point during the night, or early morning hours of May 15th of 22, do you know whether or not the Shelton Police Department came to your house to discuss the matter with you?
Yeah, I do.
And did you in fact discuss the matter with them? Why not?
My attorney said not to, and they talked to my dad.
And after that, the next morning, what did you do the next morning?
We left under advice of my counsel, and we drove up to Vermont, where we further stopped at a hospital halfway through.
Why did you stop at the hospital?
I was beginning to feel like I was going to throw up. My head was pounding, and I knew something wasn't right, especially after what happened to me last night. Especially my mom, being the mom she is, she was like, let's just go get you checked out.
And when you got checked out, what was your diagnosis? Cool.
I had a concussion, multiple contusions all over my head and body, bruised ribs, bruises all over my body. The hospital basically said, what the happened to you? I said I just got in a basic fight, and they said this is no basic fight.
And with regards to what kind of treatment did they say you had to go through? Did you have to take any medicine?
No, they gave me Advil for my bruised ribs and all the contusions, the inflammation. But for concussion, they just said rest.
No electronics?
I'm just, yeah.
Now, as far as you're concerned with regards to May 14th of 2022, when you got out of the car that night at Tyler Rich's house, did Jack get out of the car?
No.
So, to the best of your recollection, who is the only people that got out of the car?
Me and Lito.
And when you got out of the car, did you have a weapon on you at that point?
I did not.
Did you have a weapon on you the entire time during that fight?
I did not.
And to the best of your recollection, you, through your lawyer, decided to come and tell us your story to the state of Connecticut in December of 22. That was the first time we heard that story.
Yes.
Has that story changed at all between the time you told that story to Shelton Police Department and today?
No.
Looking back on it, did you have to go back to the house on 43 Laurel Glenn that night, May 14th of 22?
No.
Could have left?
Should have left.
No further questions.
Good morning, Mr. DaSilva. We've never met before.
No.
So we've never discussed this case before.
No, we have not.
You don't have any agreement that you've signed with me about testifying here today.
No.
You do have one in place with the state, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't talk to anybody or give them this version of the story until you got that in place, correct?
Correct.
You wanted immunity from anything that you had done that night, right?
Correct.
Before you would tell anybody what you say happened that night.
Correct.
And that immunity covers criminal activity or investigation of a homicide, right?
Correct.
You understand that to be murder, correct? And that includes the assaults of Thomas Connery, correct?
Correct.
Ryan Hines, correct? Faison Teal, correct?
Correct.
And you understand that you have exposure if you were going to be prosecuted and convicted of those crimes, right?
Yes.
Sorry, you just have to say yes or no when I ask a question because the court reporter has to get it, okay? It's also loud, as you probably noticed, so you got to compete with that a little bit so you can keep your voice up and just make sure you answer
Sure.
audibly. And you understand that if you were tried and convicted for crimes of accessory to murder, conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit assault, that those crimes carry in excess of 100 years in jail, right?
Yes, I understand that, but with my age, I would have had that ability for parole.
Oh, you know about your ability for parole?
Something about it.
Well, what do you know about it?
So I was told that since I was underage, there's ability for parole.
Ability for parole. Were you told you would get parole?
No.
What's 60% of 120?
Not good at math.
No. What would 50% of 120 be?
Objection as to relevance.
How long?
60. So 60% of 120 would be more than 60, right? A lot of time, right?
Yeah.
A lifetime, right?
I would say.
In jail.
Yes.
In fact, for you at the time, you were only 17 years old.
That's correct.
Even 60 years would be more than 3 lifetimes to you at that point, right?
That's correct.
Sounds like forever to you, doesn't it?
It does.
You don't want to spend forever in jail, do you?
Honestly, no.
No, you want immunity, right?
Correct.
Without it, you're not telling us anything, right?
Correct.
That was a pretty big incentive for you?
I would say.
And once you got it, and you came in and you told the state what you claim happened that night, right?
From the truth.
Well, you understand that it is your obligation under that immunity agreement that you wanted, that you have to testify truthfully, right?
Yes, sir.
And who determines whether or not you testified truthfully?
I would say myself. It's my knowledge. And then to determine if I'm telling the truth would be the state of Connecticut.
That's right. The people sitting at this table, right?
I'd say yeah.
Watching you testify here, right?
Correct.
And you did give a statement in this case, correct?
Did.
And prior to coming in here and testify, were you allowed to review that statement?
I was.
So you know what's expected of you to come in here and testify truthfully, right?
Yes.
And you said any deviation would equal prosecution, right?
That's correct.
So even if you wanted to, even if you had a change of heart and said, you know, some of that stuff I told him wasn't true, if you said that on this stand, do you think that this immunity agreement would still protect you?
They wouldn't.
Feeling a lot of pressure today, I bet.
Just nervous.
That's not the same as feeling pressure.
I would say could be, but it depends.
So that evening started off at a party that you'd been invited to over at 5 Lazy Brook, right?
Correct.
And that was a St. Joe's party, right?
Correct.
You didn't expect to see anybody there but St. Joe's kids. Is that fair to say?
Usually how it goes, yeah.
And when you got there, you said there were as many as 40 people there, right?
Yeah.
Did you see Austin Lifer there?
I did.
And what was he doing?
Drinking, very, very intoxicated.
In fact, so intoxicated he was throwing up.
Yeah.
Did you see Madigan Lifer there?
I did.
And in fact, she told you this party's getting a little out of hand. Can you keep people from coming in that aren't supposed to be here?
She did.
She asked you to bounce people effectively, right?
Not directly, but along those lines.
Keep people out. And some folks showed up that you didn't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never met Ryan Hines before in your life. Never met Griffin Marcinzik before in your life. And you guys, you approached them, or Jack approached them, or Raul approached them.
My recollection, we kind of found them waiting in the garage area.
Waiting in the garage area? What were they doing?
They're going to come in.
Okay. And then you approach these kids, or Jack approaches these kids?
I don't recall who went up first, but eventually it was all three of us approaching them.
Okay. And at some point, Jack grabs one of the kids' case of beer, right?
That's correct.
And at that point, at least, would you agree that it became more of a dispute between Jack and that kid directly?
Yes.
Everybody else is kind of watching to see what's going to happen. Is that fair to say?
There's that.
Were you screaming anything at that kid at that point?
Not that I remember.
Did you reach over and try and help Jack take the beer from the kid?
No.
How far away from Jack were you at that point?
5-6 feet.
Were you worried that this kid was going to do something to Jack?
I wouldn't say worried, but I was expecting a fight.
You were expecting a fight at that point. Everybody was expecting a fight between Jack and that kid, right?
Yes.
And that kid had come with another kid, right?
He did.
And where was that kid?
Just standing off in the distance.
And you told us before that you had brought 2 bottles of, is it Kinky? Like Kinky? Okay. And you got that from a liquor store?
I did.
You had a fake ID?
I did not.
How'd you get that at the liquor store? You stole it?
I talk well with people.
You talk well with people. Talked your way into getting 2 bottles of liquor
Yes.
without having to show an ID.
Yes.
Pretty slick. You'd agree?
How lucky?
Got lucky. Had you done that before?
I have not.
First and only time you'd ever talked your way into some liquor?
Yeah.
Not the first and only time you'd ever talked your way into something you weren't supposed to have?
No.
You told us that you drank some of that in the car, correct?
Yes.
And that was on the way to go pick up Mr. Valle
It was.
from his house.
Yeah.
He didn't come out with any liquor, right?
Did not.
He didn't come out with any weapons, did he?
Did not.
He came out with his girlfriend, Mackenzie Trafficanti.
Correct.
They hopped in the car with you guys and you went over to 5 Lazy Brook, right?
Correct.
No talk in the car of anything violent, fighting going on, anything like that?
No. Just,
Basketball, I'm sorry.
Just socializing.
Just basketball group chat hadn't started yet, right?
No.
And then you described what you've called a usual high school party happening at 5 Lazy Brook.
Correct.
And we saw the photograph. That was you, or that was Jack and Raul at that party, correct?
Yeah.
And did you see he had something around his neck, a pillow of some sort?
Neck pillow.
Neck pillow? What was that about?
I don't know. He's trying to be funny.
Okay. Was that fairly consistent with who Mr. Valle was, trying to be funny?
Yeah.
And there was beer pong going on?
Correct.
But it was actually water pong? Is that what you were telling us?
Well, usually nowadays, the way beer pong works is they fill up the cups of water. You have to refill them with beer, and you just take sips of your beer while you're there.
So as not to waste beer.
Yeah, that and I mean, so you're not chugging half a cup of beer every time you get a cup.
Gotcha. Evolution of the beer pong game.
I would say.
And you said that there were words exchanged in an argument between Mr. Snyder and Mr. Hines, right?
What?
They squared off, right? Your recollection was that Mr. Snyder was the one who threw the first punch, right?
That's what I remembered. Yeah.
But then you watch the video and you say you can see that Mr. Valle throws what you described as a sucker punch, right?
Yes.
Mr. Hines and Mr. Snyder, you would agree, they were sort of squaring off and moving around, trying to get position on one another.
They were. Yes.
People in that crowd that were watching, which you were one of, you didn't know which way they were going to go, right? Eventually, you saw Mr. Hines tackle Mr. Snyder, right?
Yes.
And they go to the ground and sort of go off the screen, what looks like behind a minivan of some sort.
Mhm.
You join the fray.
Yes.
Mr. Valle joins the fray.
Yes.
Who else joins the fray at that point?
Only 3 people I remember is us 3.
You would agree, however, after watching the video, there were more people that joined the fray, right? Some girls come over.
Yes.
Yes. Some other people come over, it appears.
What it looks like.
Did somebody pull you off, or did you stand up on your own?
I standed up on my own.
Okay. Did you ever see Mr. Valle take that motorcycle helmet off?
No.
Did you see him swing it at anybody? People were struggling to get people off in that video, right?
That was a simple fight.
It was kind of a quick fight.
Well, yes.
He said folks got up, separated, right?
Yes.
The 2 kids who had come that you were trying to keep out, they left.
He did leave. Yeah.
And you said then the party went on for another 30 to 45 minutes?
He did. Yes.
Okay. What was going on during that 30 to 45 minutes? Just more of the same typical partying?
Socializing.
No talk about let's go get into a fight, anything like that? And then you said Mama Lifer came and shut it down, right?
He did.
Told everybody to get out of there.
Yeah.
You left Lazy Brook Road trying to figure out what to do at that point. Is that fair to say?
Trying to look for another party.
Were you trying to look for these kids that had just come that you just kicked out of the fight? Was Jack, who had just sort of been getting the worst of that end of the fight, was he angry and wanted to go find those kids? And at that point, you described you'd already gotten into the car when this group chat began, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you claimed that you were added to the group chat, right?
Correct.
When you say that you were added to the group chat, how could you tell that this group chat pre-existed your being added to it?
Yeah, I couldn't really tell that was pre-existed. I just got added to it, and then they were chatting. So I just thought this was already going on.
Okay. You didn't create it.
I did not create it.
Mr. Valle didn't create it.
I did not.
Mr. Snyder didn't create it.
I did not.
And yet, the 3 of you simultaneously got added to it?
I don't know the points of when we got added.
Okay. And at that point, you started, what you described was the group chat tone was aggressive and violent, right?
Yes.
And somehow you found your way over to Trumbull High School, right?
I did.
You yourself didn't go to Trumbull High School?
I was in the car.
But I'm saying you didn't attend Trumbull High School.
No, I did not.
Nobody in your vehicle attended Trumbull High School, right?
I did.
How far was it from Lazy Brook Road to Trumbull High School?
Don't take my word on it. Probably 7 minutes, 10 minutes.
You weren't going to Trumbull High School looking for the kids from 5 Lazy Brook, right?
Not at the time.
How many people were on that group chat other than yourself, Mr. Valle, and Mr. Snyder?
I don't know the number, but there had to be a lot of people.
And most of the aggressiveness and violence, was that towards your group of 3, or was that from your group of 3 towards whatever this larger group was?
I would say it was coming from both sides.
Okay.
There was more St. Joe's kids in the group chat that were being probably the most aggressive
Okay.
with those Shelton kids than us three.
So there were other St. Joe's kids on there in addition to the three of you.
Yes.
And you're saying that those other St. Joe's kids were being more aggressive than the three of you?
I would say.
Had those other St. Joe's kids been involved at 5 Lazy Brook?
No.
And at some point, you were being told to come and fight. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Correct.
An address got sent to you, right?
Correct.
And at that point, you hadn't seen any knives or weapons in the car, correct?
Correct.
There was no mention of knives or weapons in the car, correct?
Correct.
And no drinking on the way when you started to go towards this address.
I still had one of the kinky bottles, but my recollection, I believe we weren't drinking.
And at Trumbull High School, there were 2 other cars there, right?
Oh, yes.
One car of girls and a white BMW with 2 guys in it, right?
Yes.
And those 2 guys attended Trumbull High School, you told us, and they were friends of Keenan Frasick's.
They were, yeah.
You didn't know them.
I did not.
And that address that got texted to you, that was not an address you were familiar with, was it?
It's not.
You didn't say, oh, 43 Laurel Glenn Drive, I know who lives there.
I did not.
At that point, it didn't register to you that that was Tyler Rich's house. But you've told us that you were friends with Tyler Rich's cousins? Is that what you told us?
No, it's my cousins were friends with them.
And how did you know that?
How did I know that?
Yes.
Because my cousins lived in Misty Lane, which is a couple streets over, and they always would talk about Tyler Rich.
Okay. But you yourself had never met Tyler Rich before?
I've met him in the past, yes, before.
But you'd never been to his home before,
No.
that you can recall?
That I could recall. No, I have not.
And you said that there was a conversation about going to 43 Laurel Glenn Drive with Mr. Valle, and you told us, he said, yeah, let's go. We once already. Do you remember telling us that?
Yeah.
You never told the cops that when you spoke to them before, did you?
Believe not.
No, that's the first time any of us are ever hearing that, right?
Yeah.
That's a deviation from what you said before. Are you worried about telling the state something different?
No, because my truth and my memory.
No, and in fact, it's worse than anything you've told them before, right?
I wouldn't say so.
Well, you never before told them that Mr. Valle told you, yeah, let's go, we f***ed him up once already. Would you agree that that is worse than what you told them before?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Is it like that?
Now, you told us when you got to 43 Laurel Glen Drive that the car parked in front of the mailbox by the driveway, right?
Yes.
Not across the street from the house?
No, we were like almost in the middle of the road.
In the middle of the road the first time that you stopped there, or in the middle of the road when the car came back before the fight? And then you said you think someone from the car texted that you were there. Is it possible that Mr. Snyder honked the horn?
Could have, yeah.
But somehow, what went from what you claim was nobody being outside in the yard at first, right? People came running from the house, right?
Correct.
And you told us 35 to 40 people, right?
Yeah.
Spilling down the driveway, right? Right? Sorry, she can't pick up a head nod. Coming down through the yard as well, right?
Huh?
Pouring out of the house, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And they were coming straight at the car, right?
Correct.
There's 7 of you in the car.
Correct.
There's 35 to 40 of them coming at you.
Correct.
What were you thinking at that point?
Oh, shit.
You were scared. This was a dumb idea. Yes?
Yes.
Did Mackenzie Trafficante indicate to you in any way that she thought going over to 43 LGD Laurel Glenn Drive, that she was expecting to get into a fight?
Objection as to what Mackenzie says.
The question was, did she indicate by any way? I'll just be clear and instruct the witness, don't tell us what Mackenzie said, if anything. But I'll allow you to answer over.
Not that I recall.
Did Demetrius Arfanos indicate in any way through his demeanor that he thought he was going over being taken to 43 Laurel Glen Drive to get into a fight?
Yes.
He did.
Yes.
From his
I
demeanor.
believe Dimitri and Keenan and Will were coming with us to fight.
Keenan Frasick,
Yes, I believe so.
smaller guy with kind of a mustache. Demetrius Arfanos,
Yeah.
quiet kind of guy. Was going over to get into a fight.
Yeah.
You said that you thought maybe kids were hanging outside in the backyard.
Yeah.
Could you see the backyard?
No, just that's where they came out of.
Okay. And these kids were running at the car,
I would say so.
and they surrounded the car quickly.
Very quickly.
Kids on the driver's side,
All sides.
kids on the passenger side too.
Mm.
Kids in front of the car, right?
Correct.
Kids behind the car, right?
Correct.
You could feel the car rocking and shaking, right?
Correct.
You could hear people kicking the car, pounding on the car, right?
Correct.
Some folks are outside screaming at the car, you said. One of them said, "You jumped our boys."
Correct.
You lied and said, "No, I didn't," right?
No.
You lied because you were scared, right?
Probably.
You were terrified, right?
I wouldn't say terrified, but I would say scared.
What's the difference between scared and terrified?
Objection as to relevance.
I'm going to sustain the objection. If you want to claim it, I'll hear it outside the jury.
You were scared but not terrified.
Correct.
Had you ever been surrounded in a car before like that?
I have not.
You weren't driving the vehicle, right?
I was not.
You didn't have any way to make that vehicle move, did you?
Not.
Well, but you could have gotten out of the car, right?
Not getting out of the car.
Well, why not?
Just 40 kids surrounding it.
You were terrified of getting out of the car.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustain.
Were you scared of getting out of the car?
Yeah.
Did you see Mr. Snyder reach into the console and pull out a knife and put it in his lap?
I did not.
Were you paying attention to what Mr. Snyder was doing at that point?
I wasn't.
You were focused on what was going on outside the car, right?
More to like the right side of my window where all the kids were.
And then you heard a windshield smash, right?
Yes.
Somebody threw something at it
I don't know how I got smashed, but smashed right in front of me.
right in front of you. At that point, you were terrified, right?
So you got a little more scared.
A little more. You were worried somebody was going to smash the window, right?
Yeah.
Reach in and try to pull you out of the car, right?
I would object based on speculation.
Well, I'm going to sustain the objection. If you want to rephrase the question.
You were scared that somebody could break that window, were you not?
After seeing what happened to the windshield, I would say yes.
And if somebody broke that window, you were scared that they might try and attack you, right?
The way they were acting, yes.
That car was starting to feel very small, wasn't it?
Yes.
You didn't feel like you had any way out of that situation that you found yourself in, did you?
Yeah.
You were worried that you might come to some great bodily harm, were you not?
Felt a little more protected since we were in the car, you know? But what you're saying, yes.
You felt protected, like this is a safe situation right now. I've got this in hand.
No.
You couldn't make Jack drive that car anywhere, could you?
No.
In fact, if he tried to drive the car forward, there were people blocking the way, right?
Right.
If he tried to back up, there was somebody bouncing on the rear bumper, right?
Right.
Had you ever been in that situation before?
No.
Have you ever attacked a vehicle yourself?
Not.
And people in the car, their demeanor led you to believe that they were scared as well, did it not?
Yes, it did.
Everybody in that car was terrified at that moment, were they not?
Yes.
And you told us here today that Mr. Valle was screaming at people.
Yeah.
You never said that to the cops before, did you?
I believe I did.
When you talked to him on December 6th, that's what you told him?
I believe I did.
And you told us you thought that that lasted for 15 seconds?
Yeah.
Did it feel like it only lasted 15 seconds when it was going on?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
Felt longer just because of the chaos, because of what's going on. So if you're looking for a number of it, I would say, yeah, if I felt 20, 25 seconds.
20 or 25 seconds was all?
Yeah, if you phrase it in that certain way.
Fair to say you didn't know while it was going on when or if it was going to come to an end, right?
Fair to say that, yeah.
So when it was happening, it felt like an eternity, did it not?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
And then you said, Mr. Valle was saying drive, right?
You say drive, yeah.
He wanted to get out of there, right? And Jack somehow pulls the car out and gets it down the street.
Slowly started to almost drive and people.
Spread out of the way. Saw an opening, car spuds through. Goes down to the end of the street. Drives up and down, back and forth a few times, right?
He did.
Throwing things out the windows.
Not that I remember.
And we watched a video here, State's Exhibit number 44, from in front of that house where you said later folks got out of the car. We didn't see the car going back and forth, up and down, right?
Not that I know of.
But what we did see was some people getting out of the vehicle, right?
Yes.
And then the vehicle pulls ahead and moves on.
Yes.
And you identified those three people that got out of the vehicle as Mackenzie Trafficante, correct?
Yes.
Yourself,
Yes.
and Mr. Valle, right?
Right.
And then you didn't remember what we saw on the video, and you would agree that the vehicle was chased by kids coming from the Shelton party, right?
Yes, correct.
You didn't remember this, you told us, but you saw on the video that those people were throwing things at the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And you heard people screaming things at the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And you saw those people running at what you've told us now is yourself and Mr. Valle, correct?
Correct.
And then you saw in that video the vehicle pulls ahead and leaves you there with those kids from Shelton High, right?
Correct.
And where did the vehicle go when it pulled off and left you there?
I don't know.
You had no idea where that vehicle went, right? Do you remember being scared at that point?
I do not remember being scared at that point.
But you do remember that Mackenzie was screaming, "Let me out," right?
I do.
And at some point after leaving you there, you say Mr. Snyder came back and parked the vehicle, right?
Yes.
And at that point, everybody else in the car got out, right?
Yes.
And did some folks go over and sit away from the vehicle?
I did, yeah.
And who was that?
I don't really recall, but pretty sure it was Mackenzie Traff, Dimitri, and Keenan, and Will. I think everyone else kind of went and sat down.
And that left just the three of you, Mr. Snyder, Mr. Valle, and yourself, around the vehicle?
Yes.
Were any of the Shelton High kids there at that point?
Not that I recall.
Do you know an Enrico Fiola?
I do.
And You recall Mr. Fiola coming down and talking to you while you're at the car, right?
I actually don't.
And you recall Tyler Rich coming down and talking to you while you're at the car, right?
Not.
You don't recall any of those Shelton High kids coming down while the three of you were at the car inspecting it for damage, right?
Not.
Because it never happened, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
And so you're inspecting the car, you said, and you see that it's damaged, right?
I do.
So now you're looking at the vehicle and seeing what happened to it while moments before you were trapped inside that car, right?
Correct.
And you can see that the windshield has in fact been smashed, right?
Correct.
You told us there was damage to the car all over it, right?
Yes.
And your thought was, this is a lot of damage. This is going to cost a lot of money for Jack Snyder, right?
Agreed.
Because it was Jack Snyder's car, right?
Was.
Not your car. Not Mr. Valley's car.
Nope.
But you said that Mr. Valley was the angriest of anybody?
It seemed like it through his demeanor and his words.
And he was angrier than Jack Snyder about the car.
I mean, Jack was angry. I was angry, but it was like almost like he was more angry, at least more vocal about it than us.
You didn't see a weapon at that point?
Not.
No knife anywhere?
Nope.
Did you see, though, Mr. Valley, when he went scrambling through the glove box looking for the knife?
Did not.
Okay. Well, then you saw him when he went scrambling through the console, right, to get the knife out?
Not.
And you heard him say, Jack, where's the knife? Give me the knife!
Say, Jack, give me the knife.
Just like that?
Yes.
Like you just said it?
The way he said it, I don't really recall.
Because you told us you weren't there right beside him, right? You were going around the car or something like that?
Correct.
But you overheard what you think was him saying, where's the knife?
Correct.
And you got back in the car and got into the back passenger seat,
Yes.
and Mr. Valley got into the front of the car.
Correct.
And you told us before that you've known Mr. Valley from growing up in Milford, right?
Correct.
How old were you when you first met Mr. Valley?
I don't remember the age. I was young, but it was about third grade football.
Third grade football? You guys have been close ever since, right?
We got close around fifth grade.
A year and a half later, you got close with Mr. Valley. And since fifth grade, you'd been fast friends, right?
Correct.
Hung out almost every weekend.
Correct.
Slept at his house.
Many times.
He'd slept at your house.
Many times.
You felt like he had your back.
Objection as to what he felt the defendant thought.
Sustained.
And you told Mr. Snyder, take me back there. I know these kids, right?
Correct.
Were you still angry at that point?
I was upset for Jack's car, but me being angry didn't do anything.
Okay. And you said, take me back. I want to make peace. I know these kids.
I said, take me back, yes. Let me talk to Tyler Rich.
You do remain on the application. I am also going to ask you if you could sit up a little bit to the microphone and keep your voice up a little bit. Some of the people are having difficulty. All right, thank you so much. And then I'm on track. chargers.
Defense stipulates, Your Honor.
You may continue with your processing.
You were, when we left for the break, you were telling us about getting back into the vehicle to go back to 43 Laurel Glenn Drive. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And you told us that you had been looking at the damage and you knew that it was going to be very expensive for Jack Snyder, right?
I assumed, yes, correct.
And you said that Mr. Valle said, these kids, you're going to let them do you like that?
Correct.
Remember that? And that he was more angry than anyone else, correct? And that because you knew Tyler Rich and the Riches through your cousin and lots of other Shelton High kids, right?
Correct.
That you thought it would be a good idea to go back down there and talk to them, right?
The little liquid courage, I thought it would be a good idea.
A little liquid courage, you thought it would be a good idea. Well, you told us I didn't think I had a problem with them, right?
Didn't.
You'd been involved in the fight at 5 Lazy Brook earlier that night.
I was.
You just pulled up and been swarmed by 30 to 40 kids, right?
Correct.
Pounding on the car, right?
Correct.
Smashed the windshield, right?
Correct.
Chased you, as you saw in that video, down towards the end of the road even after you'd left, right?
Correct.
You thought you didn't have a problem with them?
Just thought they wouldn't just jump me. Like, I thought I would be able to talk to Tyler Rich.
Okay. And if you were going to be, if you were in a troubling or unsafe situation, you would expect Mr. Snyder to help you, right? That would be your expectation?
It's an expectation. I'll allow it. Overruled.
I would expect, yes.
If you were in a dangerous situation, you would expect Mr. Valle to help you, right?
Yes.
It didn't surprise you when Mr. Valle got into the car with you, did it?
Not fully.
No, not at all, right? It didn't surprise you at all that somebody you'd known since 5th grade, spent nights at their homes with, saw every weekend, got into the vehicle when you were heading back to 43 Laurel Glenn Drive. It did not surprise you, did it, sir?
That did not surprise me.
No, it didn't surprise you at all. You didn't say, whoa, Mr. Valle, you seem angrier than anybody else here. Don't get in this car with me, did you?
I did not say that.
And you weren't scared that if you went back there, these 30 to 40 people might swarm you again?
Like I said, knowing Tyler Rich and knowing the Shelton kids, no, I wasn't.
Well, Tyler Rich and the Shelton kids were the same ones that had just swarmed you only minutes before, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now for some reason you thought that they wouldn't do that again?
Well, I thought because, I mean, that's all of us in a car. Me coming up alone, trying to talk to them would be a different situation.
Well, again, you weren't expecting to go back there alone. You got into the car, so you knew that Mr. Snyder was going to be in there with you, right?
I knew Mr. Schneider. I knew Schneider. I knew Valle was going to be in the car, but I knew myself was going to get out. I did not know Lito was going to get out.
You didn't expect if you were going to get out and go face 30 or 40 people that had just swarmed you, that Mr. Valle would get out of the car to be there with you?
I did not expect it.
I'll allow it.
I did not expect that.
But you told us you would expect him to help you if you were in a dangerous situation.
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Why didn't you just walk back to the house?
Asked Jack to drive me.
I understand what you did. I asked, why didn't you just walk back to the house?
I don't know. I don't have a clear answer for that.
Well, you just told us that you were expecting to go up there and talk to them by yourself.
Yeah.
But you got into the car
I did.
that Mr. Valle and Mr. Snyder were already in, according to you.
Correct.
And you told Mr. Snyder, take me back there.
I did.
When you got back to the house, or at some point before you got back to the house, you say you heard Mr. Valle say, "Jack, give me the knife."
Correct.
But you didn't see him give him the knife.
Did not.
And you didn't see the knife any time thereafter.
Did not.
You didn't see Mr. Valle with the knife in his hand opening the blade.
Did not.
You didn't see Mr. Valle take the blade and flash it out the window.
Did not.
You didn't see Mr. Valle do anything with the knife at any time. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And you get out of the car once you got back there, right?
Correct.
And you start walking into the yard.
Correct.
It's your recollection that there was nobody in the yard when you pulled up?
Yes.
And you got out and you walked straight up into the yard, right?
Correct.
You said right in front of the mailbox?
Yes. I walked almost like a straight shoot up.
And you were just a little past the grass and onto the driveway?
Correct.
Where were you heading?
I was heading to talk to someone until I was greeted.
You were going to go knock on the front door?
No.
Were you by the cars that were parked in the driveway?
Not that I could recall.
Do you remember any vehicles being along the sides of the road?
Not that I can recall.
And then at some point you realized that Mr. Valle was also out of the car with you, right?
Correct.
And you turned to him and you said, "Mr. Valle, go get back in the car," right?
No, I actually did not say that.
Well, you didn't say, what are you doing? Get out of here. You're going to cause a problem.
I said, "What are you doing?"
Oh, you did. You said, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
Did you tell that to the cops when you spoke to them?
Did.
What was his reaction when you said, "What are you doing"?
He just didn't say anything back.
They didn't pull the knife out and say, "Well, I'm here to kill somebody."
He did not.
An object based on that call.
All of them.
You didn't turn around and get back in the car because now your plan that you told us about had changed, because now it wasn't just you out of the car.
Correct.
Why didn't you just go get back in the car at that point? Your plan had changed.
In the moment, I didn't think of it. Kept walking. My plan was to talk to Tyler Rich.
Because it didn't surprise you that Mr. Valle was out of the car with you when you were going to do this, right?
Did, but I didn't think anything too heavy about it.
You knew this was a dangerous situation that you were walking into, right?
At the time, the way I felt, I didn't think it was going to be dangerous just because I thought it was just me walking up, talking to kids that I know and they know me and my family.
You thought those 30 or 40 kids that had surrounded the vehicle and knew you and your family and were jumping on it and smashed the windshield were now going to be happy to see you.
I wouldn't say happy.
He thinks those 30 kids were shot.
Your expectation was that you would be greeted peacefully.
Yeah.
You knew some of the kids there at that party, correct?
Yeah.
How many?
I don't know.
And by your own account, Mr. Valle didn't know any of those kids, right?
My knowledge, no.
And you said seeing him coming up was not smart.
No, I don't think so.
But you walking up, that was smart.
My head, yes, it was.
And you described Mr. Valle as being upset and angry at that point.
I did, correct.
And that was based on his face?
It was based on, before we went down, his words with the car.
Okay. So when you got out of the car and he was following you up, how close to you was he?
7 to 8 feet to my right.
To your right and behind you?
I would say a little bit behind.
You were leading the way.
I was, but he was 6 to 7 feet to the right, and maybe a little bit behind.
And watching your back.
You could say that.
At that point, he wasn't doing anything like squaring up with anybody.
No.
He wasn't flashing a knife at anybody.
Nope.
Didn't have his hands in his pockets.
Nope.
Didn't have his shirt pulled up over his head.
Nope.
And you heard somebody yell, "They're back."
Correct.
And you told us you thought you were going to go talk to Tyler Rich about the damages to Mr. Snyder's car.
Basically, yeah, about the whole situation.
And you thought Mr. Rich was going to want to talk about the damages to the vehicle.
I know he would hear me out.
You expected him to want to have a conversation about the damages to the car.
What do you expect? Is that called for speculation?
You know, it's what he expected, his reason for going. I'll allow that.
Say the question again.
Sure. You expected Mr. Rich was going to want to talk to you about the damages to the vehicle.
I did at the time.
And after you heard their back, you told us you were confronted by a large individual that was screaming at you, right?
Correct.
Was that Tyler Rich?
No.
Did you know who it was?
I did not.
He was not alone, though, was he?
No.
Shortly thereafter, the 30 to 40 people swarmed out again, right?
Correct.
Looked like the whole house was pouring out from that backside, right?
Correct.
You were scared at that point, weren't you?
I was.
Not because of anything Mr. Valle was doing at that point, was it?
Correct.
Because of what you had just walked into, fair to say?
Correct.
At that point, were you terrified?
Correct.
You didn't know if any of those people had weapons, did you?
I did not.
You saw somebody throw things at you while you were down there at the end of 40, easy for me to say, 36 Laurel Glenn Drive, right?
Objection.
I didn't remember that.
You don't remember that, but you saw it on the video, right?
Sustaining the objection, I'm going to instruct the jury to strike the witness's answer. And when there's an objection pending, let's please pause. Thank you.
Did you ever see Mr. Valle get sprayed in the face with WD-40 or PB Blaster?
I did not.
At the point when the large individual is screaming at you, 30 to 40 people come out and they start to surround you and Mr. Valle, correct?
Correct.
You notice people on all sides of you, right?
Correct.
In fact, how many people were in front of you?
I don't know the exact head count, but I would say around 10.
And were those 10 all just in front of you talking peacefully?
No one was talking peacefully.
And they weren't just in front of you, right? They were surrounding you,
Correct.
cutting off your exit.
Objection.
You could say that.
You felt like you were being enclosed.
You could say that.
Didn't have a car around you now, did you?
I did not.
Did you think you were going to get beaten up?
Yeah.
Did it cross your mind that you might die?
No.
How badly did you think you might get beaten up?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How badly did you think you might get beaten up?
Objection. That calls for speculation.
I'll allow it. It's what he was thinking.
I mean, when shit hits the fan like that so quickly, there's only a certain amount of time to think. I could say, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get my ass beat.
You didn't know if you were going to live through that, right?
Objection. Ask an answer.
Sustained.
And pretty soon, you had confirmation that your idea that Tyler Rich might want to peacefully talk with you was wrong, right?
Yes, correct.
Tyler Rich was screaming to you, "Get the fuck off my property or I will fuck you up."
Correct.
He had 9 other people that you could see supporting him, right?
Correct.
And you turned around and you ran back to the car, right?
No,
Why not?
just wasn't how it's gonna work. There's people behind me, people in front of me. It was chaotic. He's screaming that. I'm screaming at him to just let me talk to him, and then it all happened so fast before you knew it. Lito gets punched to the right of me. I get hit from the back of my head.
You were screaming at him, "Just let me talk to you."
Along those lines.
You were pleading with him, "Just let me talk to you. Just let me talk to you."
Along those lines.
Our families know each other. I know your cousins.
Along those lines.
You're trying to talk your way out of that situation, right?
Along those lines, yeah.
Trying to use your words to save your life.
Objection as to the characterization.
Sustained.
Did you think you might die at that point?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
What was your state of mind at that point?
Fight or fight.
To save your life?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Sir, at any point did it cross your mind that your life was in danger?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Certainly.
And you told us things were happening so fast, right?
Correct.
Your pleading with Mr. Rich did not in any way calm the situation, right?
Not even close.
And then Mr. Valle got punched in the face, right?
Correct.
Chaos ensues.
Correct.
You're down on the ground, face first in the dirt, right?
That's what I remembered.
Getting punched and kicked by you don't know who.
No idea.
At that point, did you think you might die?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
I don't know, to be honest.
You didn't know if you were going to live.
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
I just didn't know what was going to happen. If I was going to get out of that, or I was going to get knocked out, and God knows what else.
God knows what else. You didn't, right?
No.
Had you ever been in a situation like that before?
Never.
Never in your 17 years to that point.
Never.
Before Mr. Valle got punched, how far away from you was he?
6, 7 feet, 8 feet.
Close enough that you could reach out and touch him?
No.
Were you worried about what was going to happen to Mr. Valle?
A little bit.
How many people were facing Mr. Valle?
Don't know the head count, but probably another 10
At least?
at least, yeah.
Surrounding him as well?
Correct.
You didn't see Mr. Valle take a swing at anybody?
I did not, because when I saw him get punched, before I knew it, I got punched from the back of my head.
You saw him punched. Crowd swarmed him, did they not?
Kinda, yeah.
He went down to the ground
Not that I saw.
because you were down on the ground,
Correct.
face in the dirt.
Correct.
Couldn't tell who was punching you.
Objection, this is asked and answered.
Sustain.
You got punched in the back of your head.
Correct.
How many times?
I have no idea.
Did you lose consciousness?
No.
And you told us that you were familiar with Mr. McGrath because you grew up playing lacrosse with him.
Correct.
But you didn't see him there that night.
I did not.
You weren't watching to see what he was doing that evening. Is that fair to say?
It's fair.
You did see him in the video that was played for you.
I did see him.
You told us after you fell, it was so chaotic and you were getting kicked and punched on all different sides. Remember that?
Correct.
And you told us you thought maybe that went on for 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking now, right?
Correct.
At the time, didn't feel like that, did it?
Probably not.
Felt like an eternity, right?
You could say that.
You didn't know if that was going to end at all, did you?
Yeah.
You didn't hear, okay, just a few more and then we're going to let you up.
No, I did not.
You couldn't see Mr. Valle.
Did not.
You told us you remember being on the ground and then getting shoved into the street, right?
Almost like people backed off of me. I stumbled into the street. Yes.
People backed off of you?
Like a release, because before it was like I couldn't even get up if I wanted to.
Did you watch that video and see yourself getting shoved into the street by Jacob Villalobos?
Did see that? Yes.
Didn't look like he was just letting you up, did it?
No.
Did you know Jacob Villalobos?
I did not.
Shelton High, did they ever play St. Joe's in football?
I did not.
Did you know that any of these kids were members of the Shelton High football team?
I did not.
And then you said you turned around and it was just a big wall of kids.
Correct.
Could you see Mr. Valle at that point?
Couldn't.
That wall was blocking you from seeing Mr. Valle.
You say that? Yeah.
And you turned around and you were screaming at them, you said?
I was. Yes.
Did you see yourself screaming at them in that video?
Did.
After you got shoved into the street?
Yes.
You said you looked to your left and you saw Jack Snyder's car pulling away.
Correct.
Were you scared at that point?
I was.
Thought you were going to be left there with those kids, right?
Correct.
And you were terrified that you were being abandoned by Mr. Snyder.
Correct.
And ultimately you said you ran to the car and got into the car, correct?
Correct.
You said Mr. Valle was already in the car before you?
Was.
Did you see him run past you?
Did not.
Which side did you get in?
I remember is I got in the left back side, back seats.
Behind the driver?
Yes.
And Mr. Snyder was still driving the car when you got in?
Was.
You didn't see Mr. Valle with a knife at that point?
I did not.
You said Mr. Valle takes off, he makes a left turn, slams on the brakes, and you almost hit your head
Correct.
on the glove box or the dash in front of you?
Seat in front of me.
The seat in front of you. Okay, right, because you're no longer in the front passenger side, now you're behind the driver.
Correct.
And that you looked up after that quick stop and you saw Mr. Valle getting back into the car.
Correct.
How long did that take?
1-2 seconds.
Were the windows up or down in the car?
I have no idea.
But you remember Mr. Valley saying, go, go, go.
Correct.
You go past the house back to where everybody had been left.
Correct.
And that's when you saw Mr. Valley get out of the vehicle.
Yes, he said stop, stop, stop. Exited the vehicle and turned back around to me and Jack. He said, love you guys. I'm going home with Mackenzie.
And at that point, you did get out of the car and got to the front passenger seat.
Got back into his seat, yes.
Then there must have been a sense of relief on your part?
Not really.
No, because you still didn't know where you were, right?
Did not.
It was dark outside.
Correct.
You just had this terrifying experience.
Correct.
You told us that you were injured.
Correct.
You're in pain.
I wouldn't say too much just because of how much adrenaline that was running through my body.
Okay. And car takes off and drives. And you got to a dead end.
That's correct.
And at that point, again, you didn't know where you were, right?
Correct.
Were you worried that these kids might come and find you?
Not that I remember.
Your reaction at that point was, where are we, you said, right?
Correct.
So you were scared about being lost in a place that you had no idea where to get out.
All of that chaos, yes.
Why didn't you just get out of the car at that point and say, Jack, I'm done with this?
Why, you want me to just sit there in the road by myself?
What might happen if you did?
I don't know.
Sustained. I'll stand for the difference. The witnesses, excuse my last answer.
You were yelling at Jack from the moment you got into that car about why did he abandon you, right?
Correct.
You weren't expecting to go down to that house alone. You didn't want him to abandon you there, right?
No, Jack, this has been asked.
Sustained.
You said you were angry and mad, correct?
Me?
Yes.
Correct.
At that point,
Correct, yeah.
as mad as you claim Mr. Valley had been before he got into that vehicle, but
I wouldn't say so.
not that mad?
No.
You were calm, cool, and collected.
No?
Just not as mad as Mr. Valley.
Yeah.
And along the way, you decided to call your cousin Owen, right?
Correct.
And you say at that point you learned that this was more serious than you thought it had been, correct?
Correct.
You still wanted payback, though, right?
Correct.
So you were angry, right?
Correct.
Just not as angry as you claim Mr. Valley was.
Correct.
So when you want payback, you're only kind of angry?
Sustained.
At that point, you told Jack Snyder to go home, right?
I got back to my house, yes.
And you ate and you went to your room, right?
Correct.
And you claimed that you called Mr. Valley and you confronted him. And you asked him, did you stab these kids?
Correct.
And all he said to you was, bro, sorry?
I fucked up. Sorry.
And then he hung up? Or
I
you
don't
hung up?
remember, yes.
Did he say it like that? Just, bro, sorry.
My memory, I mean, I fucked up, bro. Sorry was more, how do you say it, meaningful sorry. It wasn't like a no emotion sorry.
So he didn't say, yeah, that's right, I stabbed those 4 kids.
Did not say that.
Sustained.
And then you called the cops, right?
Eventually, later that night, after I found out through my brother who called me when I learned the severity of how someone had passed away, I woke up my parents, called the cops.
You called the cops?
Called the cops. Called my attorney.
Call who?
My attorney.
Why didn't you call the cops?
Under advice of people around me.
You were scared to call the cops.
Since knowing me and I was involved, just under the advice of people around me, told me to contact Florida.
You weren't going to talk to the cops until you got them to agree not to prosecute you, right?
I'm objecting.
Sustained.
You didn't call. You didn't talk to the cops until December 6th of 2022.
Correct.
Almost 7 months after this went down.
Correct.
After you'd gotten your immunity agreement.
Correct.
Not once before.
No.
In fact, you didn't call the cops. You went to Vermont, right?
That's correct.
And then on the way home, you were feeling ill, right?
It's the way up.
On the way up,
Correct.
and you were feeling ill
Very.
from the injuries that you had gotten during the fight.
Correct.
And you went in and you sought some medical treatment.
That's correct.
And you told us that you had a concussion, multiple contusions and bruises all over your body, right?
Correct.
The doctor looked at you and said, "What is going on here?" And you said, "Oh, I got into a fight," right?
Correct.
And that doctor told you,
Objection's what the doctor said.
Your Honor, he testified to this on direct.
If you want to explore the actual statement, you can explore the actual statement. Please make sure you don't mischaracterize the statement that was made. Thank you.
You told us, the doctor told you, this is no basic fight.
Correct.
From roughly May 15th until, well, on roughly May 15th, you learned that somebody had died in this fight that you'd been involved with.
Correct.
And you waited 7 months before you talk about it
No advice of my attorney, yes.
because you were worried you might get arrested and prosecuted for this.
I'll say that.
And your expectation is that by coming in here and testifying to us today, that you're not going to get prosecuted for anything, right?
Correct.
Have you talked with Jack Snyder since this happened?
We have, yeah. We're friends.
You and Jack remain friends, right?
Correct.
In fact, you've talked about this very incident together, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever gone back to the scene?
No.
Prior to coming in here and testifying today, how many times have you watched those videos that you watched with us today?
About two times, 2 to 3 times.
That's it?
I want to say, yeah.
How many times have you reviewed the police reports of your statements?
Are you saying the interview video?
Well, okay, tell me about that. You watched your own interview video?
I have.
How many times you watched that?
Around 3 times.
3 times? 3 times you watched a video of yourself giving a statement on December 6th?
Correct.
Why'd you have to watch it 3 times?
Because we're 3 years now from that moment, and I still live my life, do my things, and I've been trying to put this in the past. So I have to watch that video and remember what my statement was.
Well, you don't want to come in and deviate from that at all, do you?
Lastly, let the witness answer the question.
Allow the witness to ask the question. Thank you.
Saying, like, I have to watch it. I remember stuff, but I might forget little, like, key couple stuffs that I just have to, memorize my memory of. People don't always remember things 3 years later.
Hard to tell the same story twice.
I wouldn't say that.
Not if you watch a video of yourself doing it 3 times.
I mean, it's always not going to be perfect, but everything will be around the same, as long as you're telling the truth.
When was the last time you watched that video?
Today is Friday.
Today is Friday.
Tuesday.
3 days ago, you watched the video of yourself giving your statement
Correct.
from beginning to end.
Correct.
Did you pause it?
Yes.
Go back over it a few times in certain spots?
Not really.
Didn't want to deviate from it, did you?
I just really wanted to watch it and revamp my memory.
Well, that original statement was what you recalled at the time 3 years ago, right?
Correct.
And so now you've watched it 3 times as recently as Tuesday in order to come in today and testify under this immunity agreement.
No objection. Ask the answer.
Sustained.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Any redraw?
May I have a moment, Your Honor? Tyler, counsel just asked you about the moments at the end of the fight when you get pushed out into the road. And I think you said during your testimony it was about 5, 6, 7 seconds at that time. What are you doing at that moment when you're pushed out into the road?
I'm looking back at a big crowd of people in chaos screaming towards my way.
Are they advancing towards you?
Yeah.
Are you advancing towards them? Is the fight over at that point?
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you recall whether or not the fight was over then?
Yeah, the fight was over.
And counsel asked you a little bit about, at some point, State's Exhibit 69. Towards the end of that video, fair enough to say? This is what you're talking about?
Correct.
Shortly after the end of this video, a few seconds go by and you look to your left
The car is moving.
and the car's moving, right? So when you get in the car, shortly after this video ends, when you get in the car, counsel indicated you got in the back driver's side?
Yeah.
Who's in the car when you get back in the car?
Defendant and Jack Schneider.
So the defendant was already in the car when you got back in the car?
Correct.
No further questions.
Anything on that limited cross? To redraft, excuse me.
You just told the state's attorney that at that point the fight was over, right?
Right.
Because that big crowd of people said, "Fight's over."
Objection.
Sustained.
In that picture, sir, what are you doing with your hands?
Holding them up like that.
Hitching up your pants, right? Hitching up your pants because you're not sure what's going to happen with that crowd of people, right?
Objection, that calls for speculation.
I'll allow it.
You could say that.
Your expectation at that point was, these folks might still be coming at me, right?
Correct.
You couldn't see Mr. Valley at that point
Not
because the people were still surrounding Mr. Valley, right?
that I've seen.
Not that you saw. Did those people just disappear?
No. They were there, but I didn't see any fighting going on.
But you're hitching up because you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Sustained.
But the fight was over.
My opinion, yes, it was.
Did you feel safe right there?
After what just happened, no.